Hi, I'm Ari Sussman. I'm the executive chairman of Collective Mining. We are the Colombian leaders in exploration and development, hunting right now for gold, copper, and silver, and very recently tungsten in the country. We are the team that successfully built and sold, discovered, built, and sold, which is now the largest gold mine in the country, and we're aiming to do that again. I'm Matthew.
All right, good to see you. Good to see you. We saw the back in Denver, obviously. Has much changed in the world?
Yeah, I mean, a lot has changed in the world. We see additional unfortunate wars in the world. We see the situation for commodities, worsening in terms of the future supply. We see inability to fund projects worsening. We see a more bullish outlook, as a result of these things. So I think the future is getting brighter and brighter as every day passes.
Yeah, well, certainly the opportunity ahead looks good, but right now people are kind of struggling to know how to play it, right? So you've got contrarians going, there's never a better time. And you've got others going, we're heading for a recession. So what do you do as a natural resource investor?
So I'm in the recession camp. I think, pretty much every indicator historically that has said there's going to be a recession is flashing red right now. So whether that's tomorrow or in 3-4 months, I don't know, but it's coming, in my view. So, I'm a buyer of precious metals. That is where I like to be in a recession, at least in the initial phase. And if and when that hits coming out of that, you get into the base metal game. I mean, I personally think copper, from a fundamental story, there is nothing better than copper when you look out 2 to 5 years.
Yeah, no, I definitely agree with you on that one. I've committed big on that front for sure. But let's talk about what you do in a time like this. You said to me last time round, it's drill. We've got the money to be able to do that. But even CEOs, look up occasionally and go, boy, looking like it's going to be tough out there. You think there's going to be a recession out there. So how do you manage your money? Have you changed your strategy any?
We have not. So look, if you have a view of a recession, along with that comes with the fact that rates aren't going to be going up much anymore, if at all, and are going to start to cut. Okay, you look at gold as an example during rate cut cycles. Okay, that's when it explodes. I mean, the last big rate cut cycle, was from 2000 and I think it was 4, to 2000 and maybe 9, and gold went up like 180%, roughly in that time frame. Even in 2020 with COVID, we saw gold take off. So I think we're at that inflection point now. So I think you need to keep going and going hard. If you have money, we have money, right? We exited the last quarter with about 20 million US in the bank. We're burning about 1 million months. So we got 20 months, give or take, right? From September 30th, October 1st, let's call it. So I think you got to go, because if you don't do anything, and then things start to improve, you're not going to be a leader. You're going to be a follower, right? And the whole point is to be one of the leading companies that people want to flock to once sentiment changes and turns in favor.
Right. So what are the lessons from last time around for you guys? When you did Continental, there's some kind of key learnings there. For how to build wealth for people and give shareholders a return. But it's a slightly different market now. Yes, you've got 20 months, but at some point you're going to have to, think, well, maybe the market's not coming back. So maybe we do need to kind of slow this down. Or maybe strategically, we need to kind of give people some sort of sense of the economics around this thing. And drill must have an end date. So again, how do you play that?
Your question. So look, I mean, the discovery at Apollo, or flagship discovery, is only made slightly more than 1 year ago. It's really new. Okay, it only has about 34,000 meters of drilling into it. To take it to a resource is going to take a lot of capital, a lot more capital, and a lot of focus on infill drilling. I don't think that's the point right now, that we're at. And I don't think, for a couple of reasons. One, the market isn't interested in that right now. We see that with many other companies, but that isn't a reason not to do it. The reason not to do it is it's still growing. Okay, so until we at least kind of understand what the envelope, of the Apollo system is, I don't see a reason to go to a resource. The other thing I will add to that is, we think Apollo is one finger discovery of others, all sitting within approximately a 4.5 kilometer strike length. Okay, so if we go to a resource estimate, okay, then what, a PEA? Where's the infrastructure going? Because we might plop it on top of a target, that becomes a deposit. And so we need to hit all these things with the money we have, see where the value is going to drive, see what the bigger picture is going to look like, and then go into resource estimation and economic related studies.
Okay, but okay, and again, I'm just trying to think of the questions that people looking into natural resource more broadly, and maybe concerned about or want to understand a little bit better, right? So we talked last time out about you sort of chasing porphyry systems, and Apollo's been quite good to you. You're whacking out these 500 meter intervals with good grades, plus around the 2 gram per ton mark, and some higher, some lower. In the market doesn't care, right? It just goes, okay, that's great. These guys are onto something big here, but I'm not going to get excited about this one. Going and chasing another Apollo, making another discovery, do you think that's going to be enough of a catalyst in a market like this? Or is it really about where do you sit in, say, 12 months' time, and people can then sort of assemble the whole data package and realize what you've got?
I think it's a combination of both. Okay, I mean, you look at there's a company called Hercules Silver, listed in Canada, that's made a porphyry discovery with one hole, a new discovery, and the stock's been up like a rope, right? Gone from pennies
from silver to copper, right?
From silver to copper. So they discovered
accident.
a porphyry system by accident, exactly. Our goal is to discover another Apollo now. I mean, we're aggressively drilling a target called Trap. So I believe, based on that precedent alone, that people will flock, to a new discovery. It always excites people's imaginations. I mean, that is mining. I mean, Robert Friedland announced a new discovery in the Congo, I think it was last week, and his stock rallied. Okay, even a multi-billion-dollar company rallied, on that. So I think discoveries will drive the market. They always have. That is how you bring the speculator back into the pre-production end of the system or of the market. And we're confident we're going to do that. We've had good success on other targets. But let's go with Trap because we really like it.
Right. Okay. And so more of the same, and more of the same means more of the same grade. Really?
Don't know.
Is there anything around you in terms of the data that's available to you which suggests that there may be some higher grade veining or higher grade larger intervals possible?
So we drilled a discovery hole into Trap in 2022. We drilled this lone hole, that cut 103 meters at about 1.5 grams per ton gold equivalent. It is gold, silver, copper intercept. Okay, it's a different host rock than Apollo. Apollo's hosted in a breccia, the porphyry that's been brecciated. This is straight quartz diorite porphyry. Okay, however, we cut a very long interval in it. The first 150 meters of that intercept is leaked because we were near surface. We paralleled the slope, in hindsight, stupidly in the drill hole. But we have the same mineralogy as Apollo, so absolutely potential exists. For that kind of grade. It's going to come down to how much porphyry mineralization has been dumped into the system from those fluids, and how much sheeted vein, late stage vein, high grade overprint is there. We don't know anything about this area. We're drilling now with 2 rigs and 2 holes going. We announced we're drilling yesterday. We had started a couple days early. We're already hitting mineralization of some sort, in both those holes. And we're really going for it because this isn't cautious drilling. I mean, we're drilling. The discovery hole was drilled from far south to the north. The second hole, which is underway, is being drilled from the north to the south. And the third hole is going from east to the west. So we're going 360 degrees on this thing to try and put a picture around it and see what it can be. But indications are it can be big. It could come to surface. We'll have to prove that later. But the outcrops indicate it probably comes to surface. And it has the potential for grade. So let's see. But it's got big scale.
Right. Okay. And just remind me in terms of doing business, operating in Colombia as a whole. You obviously you're banging through the meters. I mean, where and you're putting these 500 meter crays. I mean, what sort of depths are you? Does the mineralization start out? Where does it end? What's the kind of per meter cost or the drill hole cost in all of this?
Well, okay, let's go backwards. So per meter cost, it's very, very competitive in Colombia. All in, including assaying, about $250 US per meter. And that includes directional drilling. So that's an extra machine with cost that we are using at Apollo. Apollo system, which is the best drilled, starts right at surface, starts right at 0 meter. Okay, we have drilled it. The deepest intercept with assays to date is about 915 meters vertically below surface. But we currently have a hole. We do not have assays for it, but we drilled a directional hole that had actually 2 of them that have gone well over 1,000 vertical meters. With potential. They're in visual mineralization. Those assays will come in either late December, early January type timeframe, because those holes are just completed. So it's growing big. Apollo is extending far north, much further north, at least visually, than the current envelope suggests. I mean, hundreds of meters in one of these holes. So lots of growth there. Coming back to trap, I don't know. I don't know where it starts. We have one hole into it. I hope it comes to surface. Indications are from the outcrops, it probably comes to surface. The topography at trap is not easy. It's not flat. We can't just drive a rig in and, put it where we want. So if we are successful in the drilling with these 2 rigs we're using now, then we will warrant spending the money, to put an access road in and allow us to get where we believe the top of the system is, and then start to test to see if it comes right to surface. But, that one's going to probably be, it's the same kind of mineralization. So it's probably going to have a kilometer vertical to it or more, as these porphyries typically do. Pretty exciting. Colombia is a great place to work. It's been, it's as a country, people don't know it, so they shy away from it and say, oh, Colombia is worrisome. But, I think it's probably the best jurisdiction, and one of them you could be in the world. For example, since the new government took over, which everyone was worried about because it's the first left-leaning presidency, there have now been 5 permits issued for mining. So that's since August of 2022. Most recently in October for South 32 for their nickel mine, big expansion on open pit mining. The government is openly saying that, transition is the driver. And really the last point I think to make on Colombia, which is the most important point, would you want to invest in the United States where I live or Colombia? And my reason to say that is as follows. It takes about 12 years to permit a mine in the US. That's according to every study that's published. In Colombia, by law, at the national government, it takes 10 months. Okay, so you think about the curve of the Lassonde curve in the construction permitting phase. Most projects in tough jurisdictions in terms of permitting are going to go bankrupt in that trough because it's going to be so long, right? Colombia, you can move quickly. That is really key, especially for a global transition.
No, nothing. It's a point well made. With regards to doing business in Colombia, and we're hearing it elsewhere too. The ability to do business has been helped and advanced, and it's great. And compared to places like the US, it's definitely easier. I don't think the Fraser Institute has got its work cut out as to what Tier 1 means anymore in terms of jurisdiction. So I want to come back on the drilling things. I'm trying to get myself some data where I can actually work out some numbers. So with regards to the 2 drills that are turning, you've told us the depth. So how much can they drill each day? I mean,
good question. So we have 4 rigs turning. Okay, we have 4 rigs.
4, sorry. Okay.
Yeah, so 2 are at Apollo, 2 are at Trap. Okay, to clarify.
Right.
So 4 in total. Okay, the rigs are all similar. They're the largest capacity man-portable rigs that money can buy, so to speak. And they average 40 to 50 meters per day.
Okay.
Our record drilling day, I think we did 111 meters with a rig in one day. That was our record. And obviously we've had some poor days where there's technical malfunctions, etc. But 40 meters a day is about what we see per rig. So pretty fast.
It's pretty good. And in terms of the I guess the new drill targets that you're going to be sort of chasing around Trap, have you decided on those yet? And in terms of when you get off one hole and move to the other, I don't know what your step outs are, but what time is involved and what's the process?
Situation is fluid based on what you see visually in the holes that you're currently drilling. The biggest challenge with the Guayabales project, where all these targets sit within, is has very limited outcrop. Okay, I mean, maybe there's 1% to 2% outcrop, so it makes it difficult, right? And and even soil sampling, right? Which is the best method we use. There's a lot of historic volcanic ash cover and landslide, etc., over millions of years, and so sometimes we're augering down, 12 meters, right? Which is very deep by hand, to get a sample of the soil that's below this ash or waste that's on top, which doesn't indicate anything. So it's hard. So drilling is really the pick, to tell you what to do next. And that's how we've operated at Apollo. That's how we've operated other targets. And that's what we're doing at Trap. So let's see what we see, as these holes progress. They're going to be at least, 350 to 400 meters in length at Trap. Let's see what happens by the end of them. And then we'll determine where to go next. But we are trying to we're going to be aggressive. So the step outs aren't scheduled like, hey, we're going to move 100 meters and move. It's really splaying in 360 degrees to see where limits of the system might be for starters, and then start to focus inside and understand where it's going.
Right, because it was interesting. You always talk about porphyries, and how they appear and where they appear and their relation to each other. I mean, are you working off data that you've got yourself, or have you been able to get your hands on other data elsewhere, or take a look at others around you in terms of, because it comes back to that targeting thing. It's about being as successful as you can with the next drill bit, being as efficient as you can with the next drill bit, and that targeting component is I get the fluidity required based on the data. The data changes, you can change your mind, etc. But have you got a good sense of how many targets you've got at the moment, or is it really a case of we'll wait until until the last drill bit data comes out? I mean, it's kind of doesn't feel efficient that way. So have you honed in on some targets?
So we have 7 targets that we've generated on the project. Okay.
Right.
They always have a different name, right? Within Trap, it's one large porphyry target. Okay. So what do we think is happening? So what I can tell you is this: from the hole with the results that we announced last year and the 2 that we're currently drilling, I've never seen a system this flooded with alteration. I mean, it's, part of upper porphyry systems is you look for sericitic alteration. It's white. I mean, our core is literally bleached white. It's pretty wild to see. So we know we're in the top of a porphyry system. Okay. And then we look at, once we get the results, we start to look at ratio analysis. This is how you target. Okay. So you look at your copper to zinc ratios. You look at your tungsten, your, other minerals, the ratios of them to look for patterns. That's how you target. But when you're doing exploration and you don't have the benefit of having a lab on site that can turn around numbers for you, in days, when you're like us, you're 4 to 6 weeks per assay for turnaround, you study the core and you target based on that. Where's the alteration weakening? Where's the strengthening? You count things like in porphyry, you count the density of veins that you observe in core. Obviously, the more dense, the closer you are to where the grade potentially better. So that's where you target. So that's how we go. We don't have an idea yet. This is real grassroots drilling that we're doing at Trap. There's never been any exploration by a prior company here. We're the first ever collect samples. But look, we're pretty good at this, I think, because look at the success rate we have. I mean, on the whole project, we've drilled so far 6 targets. We've missed on 1, we've hit on 4, and we're waiting on assays on a target called ME, which we don't have yet, but are due in the next few weeks. So we're good at finding these things, but it's a lot of, you make decisions on the fly, really. There's no set plan because it doesn't work like that in this early stage exploration.
Right. Okay. No, okay. I hear what you're saying. And by that, with regards to tungsten, I mean, you come across this, we weren't expecting to. I'm just kind of interested in, in these early days, I'm trying to how do you get a sense of the value of byproducts like the tungsten, like the copper, and again, does that affect your targeting or drilling, or because you could have an eye to what the met's going to be, or the met work's going to be like. How the hell do I actually process this stuff? Do I want it or not want it actually in with what I've got? So how are you viewing both those byproducts?
So another good question. So first of all, when you have a polymetallic system, the first thing, the red flag should go off in your mind and say, how are we going to recover this? Because many times, as we all know, that becomes horribly problematic. Okay. Apollo, we've done met work. Okay. We're doing met work and we have more to do. The results are outstanding so far. Okay. So the focus has been on the gold. Gold is the most dominant metal of the 4 in Apollo. So we put out results twice. We are looking at recovery rates well into the mid 90% range. Press release we put out 6 weeks ago or so. The 8 samples that we submitted for met work on gold averaged almost 94%. However, 4 of those 8 samples in an actual plant will not be recovered by CIL because they were high in copper. So if you exclude those 4 samples, meaning though that part of the system where there's copper will go to flotation, there'll be a separate circuit to go CIL. The recovery rate of the remaining 4 with the low copper was almost 97%. Okay. We are advanced on flotation work. Okay, we've done rougher concentrate. We're not on the clear con work. The work is showing us we don't have any problems. I think we're going to see copper and silver recoveries in flotation somewhere between 85, maybe if we're lucky, 90%. So pretty exciting. Tungsten, the last part, which you asked, I have no idea. Okay, we just made this discovery of the tungsten. We've shipped samples off to the lab. We'll have results in H1, probably Q1 of 2024. What I can say to you is to be conservative. When we calculated gold equivalent with the tungsten, we've only used a 50% recovery rate assumption for tungsten out of caution because we don't know yet. The mineral that contains the tungsten that we have is called scheelite. This is the most common tungsten mineral in the world. Typical mines with scheelite in Australia, for example, are usually 80 to 85% recovery rates for tungsten. I don't know if that'll be the case for us, but let's be cautious until we know more.
Okay. And I guess when you know more, we'll know more as well.
Exactly.
And just as looking at some of the headlines and news that you guys have been putting out there, I'm always intrigued as to how people kind of build up the company's skill sets as they're evolving, as they're developing. You're still very much, obviously, clearly heavily focused on exploration. So, but I guess you're conscious of needing to manage the kind of the governmental and I guess the social aspect of doing business in someone else's country. So we saw the Angela Maria Orozco Gomez join the board. Because it's got to be for a good reason, because you don't sort of want to take on costs for no reason. So what are you expecting her to do for you? And why do you need it now?
So look, we even though, look, to be frank, Matthew, we want to sell this project ultimately. I mean, that is how I see this going. However, you never plan a business that way. You plan to build. Okay, we built last time and sold it when we started production. So this time we're hoping we don't do that, but we're prepared to do that. So we're putting together our toolbox, of the various pieces that we need to move this project forward. So metallurgy, we've hired, which I believe is the top metallurgical consultant in the world. So we're in the best hands, that we can be. Angela joined our board to really assist with our power, at navigating in the future the permitting process, right? Between her and Maria Constanza, I feel we're very strong. Okay, and this was my success at Continental Gold. I mean, we had 3 Colombian directors, all of which were exceedingly instrumental in us permitting. Okay, and so that's how we're building it. As far as, we all talk ESG, but Colombia is a country with population, 50 million people. Where you're going to build a mine, there's people living near it. Okay, we're based in a town at the base of our project's about an hour drive named Supia. I mean, this isn't small. It's 30,000 people. Okay, so we need to build support, and that's what we've always done. And, Colombia is not for every explorer to come in, because the model of let's go kick rocks, and then if we have something, we'll start worrying about, socializing the project. You have to come into Colombia and socialize the project first, even if it's grassroots, and then kick the rocks. And that's what we've done well. And, we do things we have various trains of that business, moving forward simultaneously. One is strategic alliances. I mean, this is how we operate. So we're the first mining company in the history of Colombia to strategically align with the Coffee Growers Federation, of the country. Everyone knows Colombian coffee, so it's not a hard jump to imagine how powerful that association is. And they've never aligned with mining. We're partners. Okay, we're partners with the most prestigious university in the area of the country in which we operate. Good. We train students. They get experience in the field with us. We share things, but ultimately, I envision the university helping us permit. Maybe doing the water portion, the water study portion. Water is sensitive in Colombia. It has lots of water. It's the opposite of Chile, but it's just as sensitive because there's so much natural clean water that nobody wants it to be dirtied or ruined by anything. So that's been our model. Dialogue is really the last key piece of what we do well. We create a theme where we're operating, and we then build alliances with other businesses, not mining, that care about that same theme, and we create a dialogue platform in the local communities. This time we're actually doing a transition energy theme. We see our project being part of that. Obviously, we have copper, which is I think the most important transition metal. We have silver, which is critical for solar paneling in particular. And tungsten is a critical mineral. I mean, it's on the critical mineral list of the EU, Canada, the United States, and Australia. And so we're building this platform with other operating groups, and this is what we're doing. And we've just launched this, and we've had our first dialogue session. About 100 people showed up, and it was a roaring success. That's how we do things.
But it's interesting in terms of the way you position it versus the way you report it. You talk about gold equivalent numbers, right? Because that's what people understand. But in terms of future, you don't necessarily want to build this yourself. Is the transitional metal component that you think is going to be the most interest to potential buyers or meaningful investors?
Absolutely. Look, Colombia right now almost produces zero copper. There's one tiny mine that produces a little bit. Okay. There are a lot of known copper showings in the country, but I believe that we have the chance to be the second project or third project in copper in the country. We have all the ingredients where we are to be a fast project. We're in a mining camp. Right? We've got RS Mining's Marmato mine, 9 million ounces sitting next door to us. That's fully licensed and in construction now. I mean, it just started, a month ago. So we're in this wonderful area that is pro mining, and things can move really fast. And that is our intent, to move very fast. If we don't sell, we're going to have this thing built in a much quicker timeline than the normal 12 years that a mine seems to take to build from discovery to first production.
Good man, Harry. Speed to market. I love it. Well, I appreciate your time today. Thanks for catching up, and happy Thanksgiving. You've made some time for us today. I really appreciate it. We'll see you soon.
Good talking with you as always, and we'll speak soon. Take care.